Hey, this is James from Soniccouture. We're going to have a look at some of the in-depth editing features on our electro-acoustic instrument. Just to give you a quick overview, this is the main drum design area, this is the kit, and this is the channel strip. As you can see, the kick is selected here. You can select any of the drums by clicking, but we have the kick, and here you see the 11 channels. So I'm going to play a beat. I'm using the polybeats sequencer here. We have a kick and snare pattern running. So if we have the kick selected, we have the dry channel here. We also have various analog channels here, valve, EMI compressor, Ampeg bass amp, and we have microphone channels, rooms, and PA mics. On the far right, these are sampler editing parameters. These are contact parameters. You can adjust the pitch, attack, decay envelopes, velocity. If you click this little square here, you access 4 more parameters. You have a high pass filter, low pass filter, etc. If we just go back to the main drum machine panel for a second, this is where you can select the kick. You could select a 909. A 606, etc. I'm going to stick with the 808 for now. It's worth pointing out that any knobs you see here in the drum machine panel are sampled from the original hardware. So if we turn this decay knob, you have 11 different settings, and each one is an original decay setting from the 808 unit. Here you have the original tone knob. Now you have to unlock this in order to load it into RAM, because there's so many samples, over 1,000 samples, that you can lock it to save memory and load the samples or unload them. So unlocked, you can select a new tone setting, lock it again, and it'll unload all the samples you're not using. Okay then, so that's a little overview of the channels here. We're going to get more in depth of it as we go through. This is the mixer. Again, you can select the channel you're working on, and you have an EQ, a compressor, a saturation, a reverb send, and stereo width. All of these are contact sampler parameters. We try and make the difference very clear by using these very grey flat graphic knobs when it's a contact parameter, and if you see the modelled hardware knob, then that means we have sampled it from the corresponding hardware. I'm going to go back to the polybeats sequencer for a second. This is a very interesting new sequencer we've developed for this instrument. You can set each of these channels to a completely different time signature, a different grid size. So as you can see, our kick and snare are running in 8s, so that's 4/4 time. That's what you'd expect. Now for this pattern, I was playing around earlier and ended up setting the hats in 7s. So that's 7/8 time. So they're actually going slightly slower than the 4/4. So it's like double time, but there's a kind of lag there. Okay, if our pattern's running, I just want to show you a few of my favourite tricks and production techniques to design drums in electroacoustic. One of my most favourite tricks is to hold down Alt, and you can adjust all the drums at once with a channel. So if I hold down Alt and turn up the 1073, you can hear all the drums, kick, snare, etc. are getting the 1073 treatment. I'm going to turn it back down. I'm going to go to my dry channel, and I'm going to zero it for all the drums. We can't hear anything now. Okay, and then I'm going to bring up the PA mics just on the subwoofer. This is interesting because we get a kind of low pass filter effect but it's all done with microphones. There's no filters at work here. And then what's cool to do is, again, hold down Alt for all the kit and bring up the EMI compressor. You get a very, very snappy attack sound sitting on top of that bass. That doesn't sound quite right. I'm going to want to work on the snare a bit there. Bring that into the foreground a bit more. I can go back to my original 808, bring up the snappiness a bit maybe. Okay. And now I think I'll give it some room. Okay, that's good. Now, what I'm going to want to do with the room is adjust that further. I'm going to go to the All button. I'm going to click that and it's going to change to 1. Now what this means is that any one of these channels, I can click on the knob and select it. In this case we were working on the room 2, I can select that. Now what this means is that these sampler parameters will now only affect the room channel. So I could detune it a bit, but just the room. There's our dry snare. Then I could turn down the decay. Okay, maybe thin it out a bit. Or you can get more creative, engage a low pass filter. As you can see, the resonance was turned up there. We've got a new feature that we're adding in a new update. You can select your filter type here from Contact's various filters. We could select a Moog 4-pole ladder style here. We could tune that, get it whistling. Now at this point, what I would do is come to my snare channel on the mixer and add some compression to bring up the tail on that. Next, it might be good to play with the kit res mics. This is from a pile of tom shells in the live room that were mic'd up while the drum machine samples were recorded. Okay, it sounds like this. If I bring that up too loud, I think I'll bring that down. What you can hear is the 808 sample through the PA, in the room, through a mic, in a pile of toms. So you can hear the kind of snappy top edge there. It's worth pointing out that if I adjust the drum machine controls, now what you're hearing is the 808 snare with no snappiness through the pile of toms through the mic. This goes for all the room mics. If you change the drum machine parameters and use the mic channels, then the sound you are hearing through those mics is the sound that you adjusted. Anyway, back to our kit res channel. So I'm thinking we could use this to give the snare a little kind of high, ringy piccolo kind of edge. You could, that's quite nice. Maybe bring down the decay. Still got too much of that snappy attack in it for my liking. So you can see we've just got that little ring, which is it's a subtle detail, but it just gives it more interest, more life, and more of a kind of real live acoustic edge. Okay. Next, that hi-hat sound's getting a bit grating. I'm going to take a look at that. The hi-hat is currently just the EMI comp, which is pretty extreme. What I really like on hi-hats are the PA tweeter mics. So you just get that natural ambience that comes along with these. If you want more ambience, it's nice to use the Room 1 mics, which is a stereo Royer mic in the state-of-the-art studio. So there we go. If we go to our mixer and our hat channel, stereo width, when the PA was mic'd up, you had two completely different tweeter and mid units and different miking on either side of that. So if you adjust the width, they get further apart, and it's just a really nice little technique to give some stereo to a drum sound that doesn't normally have a huge amount of stereo. Again, you might want to just shave a little attack with the room mics and just use their tail. Okay. Okay, I'm going to take a look at the kick now. Currently the kick is just the PA sub mic with a little bit of this. If you roll that off, you just get a very subby sound, which is nice. So what's a particularly nice feature on the kicks is our rattle channel. This features a selection of sample sets that were recorded separately from the main drum recording session. And you can select all kinds of things here, like step ladder rattling, if you want a kind of real world artifact there. What's perhaps more natural sounding are some of the drum kit sounds. These were recorded by placing a subwoofer next to an acoustic drum kit and just pumping the very low end into the drum kit and recording that with mics. So what that means is that the top end of this signal is just rattle. So if you select it on its own and high pass it, you can take out any of the remnants of that sub signal and you just get rattle. Okay, so that's without. That's it. With a lot of these things, it's best to keep it subtle, just as a little bit of top to the drum sound. You can hear the full decay of the sound. But I'm going to bring it down like that. Okay, kick sounding better. Another favourite on the kick has to be the 1073. You can use it to give a kind of little distorted, overdriven edge just by blending it nicely here. As with a lot of these things, maybe less is more. Okay. Now, a great thing you can do with Electro-Acoustic is play around with the tom sounds. Okay, I've loaded up here an 808 conga. You have the 808 toms you can select. This is just the low tom. You can tune each of these with the original parameters. But I find to make bass sounds, the congas sound good. Okay, so we're just simply going to pitch down the whole channel first of all. Try and find a place where it sounds nice. Okay. Check our levels. Okay. Now the 1073 will add some detail. And don't forget, everything is pitched down here. Okay. Now I can select the 1073 channel. Maybe trim off some decay and go back to our filters. So you can select select the Moog ladder ladder. We can make a nice fat top end there. Maybe trim off some of the sub, cut under like 90 Hertz. Okay, that sounds pretty good. Okay, now I'm gonna try layering a clap over our snare. That would be our percussion 1 track, final track. Can't really hear it at the moment. Just going to bring down the snare. So, quite a quiet clap at the moment. We're going to start by bringing up the dry channel, which we all recognise. I'm going to bring in the PA high channel, and what I'm gonna try and do, I'm gonna mute the snare, is layer up a whole load of different clap channels. And I'm gonna change the pitch slightly differently on each one, just a little bit, to really thicken it up. Maybe change the attack slightly on each one. Okay. Getting pretty loud now. I'm going to bring the level down. We're piling up all these channels, remember, so you do need to pay attention to your gain staging. Okay, this is already in. Try a really low one here. Okay. Alrighty, quite a lot. Try and get them all in, shall we? Now we can try and make it even wider with our width control. Oh, that's sounding huge. A little bit of compression. Really bring up the tail on those room sounds. That hat is sounding slightly wet now, I think. Okay. Bring the snare back in. Okay, great. That's sounding pretty good. A little bit of saturate. Okay, the last thing I want to look at is the processing available on our master channel. As you can see, I'm already using the feedback compressor from Contact we have here. This is a great sounding compressor, it really is. You've got a wet-dry control, so you can drive the input really hard and then just bring up the wet control. Okay. We have a master EQ, which is based on Contact's solid bus EQ, which is modelled after an SSL. Give it a little nudge at the top end there. The tape processor. Again, this is quite a nice. I'm going to bring down the overall level. This is a nice subtle tape compressor. Tape compressors I find fall into two categories really, quite extreme or more accurate, very subtle ones. This is more of the subtle kind of response control. You can drive it hard, but it sounds better just driven soft. Okay. And then we have have a limiter if you want to just stop things getting too hot there.